The fast curved swords are the most overpowered weapon class in the game, together with daggers and crossbows. They are fast enough to roll catch on reaction, and have good hit stun which allows them to get priority over any non-hyper armor weapon, except Harp and Murky. At high latency though, they lose most priorities, and have a way harder time roll catching and spacing, which nullifies 3 of the most prominent advantages they have over other weapon classes. Lots of players have the impression that at high latency these weapons are nerfed or even not viable. So, is that true? The answer is no. At high latency, your hit delay makes it so you always hit your foe off of their roll poise frames when roll catching. For that reason, it's always worth it to try pressuring. This forces your opponent to either double roll or accept the hit. If your opponent tries to roll only once, you can also roll catch him with phantom range, which can be extremely unpredictable if he is not adapted to the latency or is not expecting it. Using this tactic, you turn the curved swords into real pressure machines, since the opponent will always have to double roll away to avoid getting staggered. If you don't stop the pressure, they can't do nothing besides creating distance or risking to get hit. The curved sword running attack is also completely unpunishable at latency, and the phantom range looks painful, especially with PKCS and Demon Scar. You need to be extra careful when using this attack though, since you can easily be outtraded if your opponent reads it. Against latent hyper armor weapons, you can also perform running R1 to R1 and then roll off of the trade if they attack out of hit stun. With latent curved sword, you want to avoid trades as much as possible, since with most curved swords you won't be able to outtrade other weapons that not daggers. When trading, the ideal is to either back off and return to neutral, since you will lose priority, or hope for them to back off so you can keep the pressure on. The fast CS running R1 have priority into its own R1 against weapons from straight sword speed or below. This may be inconsistent though, since sometimes your opponent can hit you with the hilt of their weapon, consequently causing a trade. Despite spacing being way more difficult at high latency, performing the reverse spacing shown in my How to Deal with Latency video is way easier with curved swords than with any other weapon class. In fact, they make it so whiff punish is possible at most latency ranges you will find in the wild. Most curved swords can perform well at any latency, but 2 of them have a special role. Rotten Grew Curved Sword, despite being the second shortest fast curved sword, has incredible damage and a very useful poison proc on it, which can increase on ghost hits. This helps even more at the pressure part of the CS gameplay, since you can proc the poison even if they double roll every hit you try to land. Its running attacks though are not very good even with latency involved because of its bad range. Demon Scar, for the other side, is from far the best curved sword you can use at high latency. On a dedicated build, it has access to pyromancies, which can be casted at a very reasonable spell buff. It also has R1 to Black Flame as a very damaging true combo, and Fire Surge, which is a powerful source of neutral pressure and ship damage. As a Scar user, you don't want to use the Surge as a damaging source, but as a game controller in terms of forcing the opponent to play as you want him to. You can induce the other player to commit mistakes by harassing him enough with Fire Surge and use the Black Flame for a little punish. Demon Scar also has the second highest range amongst the curved swords and a misleadingly long hitbox, which grants you a very good neutral R1 and running R1 range. Neutral Black Flame is also a good answer for turtling opponents and hyper armor users. Like PKCS, Demon Scar can block explosive bolts and have priority, despite having a bad absorption to defend its user. It's still very useful to maintain pressure on crossbow users though. Despite not being as powerful as Demon Scar, the Scimitar and the Pontiff Knight Curved Sword also are powerful at high latency. The first one for its damage and the second one for its fearsome range. The PKCS also rivalizes with the Group Curved Sword in terms of being useful at high latency.
And now expresses it musically himself.